Okay, are we live? Let's get this thing all squared up, looking good. From the waist down, I'm sitting inside the pool, so trying to stay cool out here. Alabama summer gets pretty hot. It's about 90 degrees. And I just got back from a 30-minute walk with the little man, so needed to cool off. But I did not want to wait until I was cooled off physically to talk to you guys, because my emotions are not cooled off. My emotions are actually quite agitated at the moment. No, you cannot go live with me, Tailpipe. It's not personal, but I didn't go live to go live with you or anybody else. I go live to talk about my own shit. Okay? If you want to be on my live or you want to be on my show, send me a DM and we'll talk about it. So if you've been following the drama of this account over the last 48 plus 48 is 96 hours. Am I a Fed? Why would you show your face? Because I'm not scared of the Fed, and I'm not scared of the Jews, and I'm not scared of anybody else. Only thing I'm scared of is Jesus Christ coming down and annihilating this entire place, and me not having done everything I possibly could have to warn people that this was coming, okay? That's the only thing I'm scared of. So the last 96, what was it? 48 plus 48, 96 hours has been a roller coaster of trying to figure out what's going on with my account. Okay, we were going light speed ahead, clocking 200 to 500 new followers every single day, not per week, not per month. Every single day the account was growing 200 to 500 followers, and not for one day, not because I had like one meme go viral, not for a solid week, for multiple months. For multiple months, the account was clocking, as I said, 200 to 500 followers a day. At this trajectory, by the end of the year, the account was going to be minimum 50,000 followers, potentially 75,000, maybe even 100,000. Because the exponential rate at which you grow, because more people are sharing your content, your current trajectory isn't your future trajectory. It actually gets bigger and bigger the larger your account is. So even if my trajectory stayed the same, my account was going to be 50 to 60,000 followers. But mathematically speaking, it would have increased, and likely it would have been 75,000 followers by the end of the year. That was the trajectory that we were on. So suddenly, I wake up one day, I go to check how many followers were added to the account, and it's zero. Absolutely zero. That's a little unusual given the last 2 months of the pattern being what I've already said several times. And I wave it off and I say, okay, maybe it is what it is. Maybe their servers are lagging and it'll update later in the day, or it'll update tomorrow, whatever. Well, the next day, 0 followers. The next day, 0 followers. And I posted the screenshots. You guys can all see them. You see the graph. It's going up, 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 up. And then it just goes straight down to 0. Straight down to 0. Okay, so that's not even possible. The algorithm doesn't work that way. And so I'm sitting here scratching my head saying, I guess I got shadow banned. I guess this is one of the sneaky, covert tactics they use to suppress people's reach. It's very clear they did it. I didn't receive any communication about it, not that I'm aware of. To be fair, I get 200 to 300 messages a day, and that's direct messages. I also get notifications for people liking my content in the thousands. So if you actually believe that I was supposed to notice a notification about, hey, your following has been frozen, when I'm getting like 2,000 notifications a day, that's just retarded. But anyway, I never remember getting any notifications about it. They've clearly done it. The follower count was frozen. It's basically only going backwards now. And then I start looking at some of the other features of my account. I look at the stories, and the view counts on those are cut in half. And then I look at the community guidelines violations I have in my account status, and I have like 4 posts sitting in there that have been flagged for misinformation and hate speech. So I start looking at these posts, and a couple of them aren't even available. It just says a post on April or May, whatever, and it doesn't even show the thumbnail. You click on it, it will not show you the post. I'll post the screenshots to show you. So you can't even ask for a review of whatever it was that was so misinformative or so hateful, because you can't even see what meme or what post they're talking about. One of them actually is there. And this is where I find out what happened to the account and why it got shut down. The one post that I can actually see, oh, this is the account, or this is the post that they're upset about. It's a post that had New York Post, like the journalistic outlet, the newspaper. And the headline from New York Post, at least so the image implied, was that anti-Semitism is being criminalized, which we know it is. It's happening on the campuses all over the place. They're using the IHRA, International Holocaust Remembrance Association. They're using the Jewish-defined definition of anti-Semitism, which consists of 11 bullet points, which we will go through here momentarily. And they consider any of those 11 different types of commentary about the nation of Israel, the Jewish religion, Jewish ethnic practices, the government of Israel, the behavior of Israel. If you criticize any of those things, that falls under the definition, the IHRA's definition, the people who want you to devote your life to remembering the Holocaust. That meets their definition of anti-Semitism, which has now been criminalized if you are on a college campus. And that's just like, that's a stepping stone to becoming Germany, becoming any of the other European countries where it's fully illegal to do anywhere. It's already become illegal on all these college campuses. Like, we are not a nation of free speech anymore. That's obvious. You can talk about a lot of other groups, and you can talk about a lot of other behaviors, a lot of other nations, other religions. You can talk about all these other things. I mention many times frequently, because they're obviously my interests, that you can talk about how awful the religion of Christianity is. You can say America is a rotten, corrupt country and always has been. You can say that white people are the offspring of Satan and that they're inherently violent and evil and oppressive. You can say all of that, and that's not hate speech. But when you go out and criticize the behavior that the entire world is watching and knows is true, is factually true, is empirically true, more than 40,000 dead people, most of them women and children, so that they can kill a couple hundred Hamas members, allegedly. Oh, and in the process, they destroy literally 50% of the infrastructure of Gaza. So the hospitals, the schools, the food supply chains, the residential neighborhoods, half of the city has been destroyed. So there is no return for the Palestinian people. That's not happening. There's no place to go back to. They've already been corralled into Rafah. They will soon be purged out of Rafah and be forced to be absorbed into either Egypt or somewhere else, more than likely some European nations, because guess what? That's the pattern of history. Every other Middle Eastern war that has happened my entire life. It's just how it goes. And so if you just point out these things, this is me being critical of the government of Israel, the Jewish people, the Jewish nation. If I were a college student doing this on a college campus, I could go to jail. If I were saying this living in Germany, or like I said, the other European nations, I can't remember how many it is. It's like at least a dozen or so, who have criminalized in all fashion being anti-Semitic, questioning the details of the Holocaust, saying that Jews have a greater loyalty to the nation of Israel than the host nation they're sitting in or other nations. That's enough to go to jail. So this post that my entire account, my 22,000 following account, who gets 1 million accounts, eyeballs on it every month. Okay, that's how many people see my content. 1 million per month. And it's 3 million impressions. And that's at the current viewership of 22,000 accounts. It was going to be, we assume, double, triple that by the end of the year. So theoretically, I would have been hitting millions, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. That was the trajectory we were on. But because of this one post I made, 1 million people who were previously seeing this content about being critical of Israel, critical of the Jewish religion, pointing out the stuff that is factually true about their own religion's doctrine, their sacred texts that they believe in, their prophecies they believe in. believing that Jesus Christ is not God, and not just that, that he is an evil sorcerer, liar, blasphemer, necromancer, and he is rightfully punished by being murdered, rightfully punished by being nailed to a cross for everybody to see and to be made an example of, and rightfully burning in hell in a pot of semen and excrement. Let me just take a beverage. Let me just take a sip of a beverage real quick here. Because I made one post that said, hey, did you guys know? I forwarded a meme. This wasn't even my creation, actually. I forwarded a meme that said New York Post. It had their banner on the top and had a picture of the Twin Towers. And it said, criticizing Israel or the Jews has been criminalized, has become illegal. I shared that post. That is all I did. And now my account has been flagged for disinformation. How was that disinformation, they say? You're probably asking yourself the same question. That is true. They did just ban talking critically about Israel and the Jews, at least in certain parts of America. So how is it disinformation? Well, let me tell you how it's disinformation. By these legalistic piece of shit people, they say that, oh, well, actually, it wasn't the New York Post who put that out. That's actually a Photoshop. The headline is correct that this is happening. Anti-Semitism is becoming illegal in certain parts of America. That's all good and well. The headline is accurate, but actually it wasn't the New York Post who published that. Somebody photoshopped that banner on the top of it. And so that right there is disinformation, because it wasn't the New York Post who said that. And that right there, that tiny, minuscule forwarding a photoshopped meme that is factually true, says I can't talk to the 1 million people per month that I was reaching. How is any of this morally justifiable? That is absurd. That is beyond 1984 Orwellian, dystopian, totalitarian, thought police garbage. This is not the country you guys think it is, okay? The other day I was walking my dog, and I was wearing this hat, and a neighbor saw it, and he's kind of giving me the side eye. And he's a Christian, older guy, boomer, actually beyond boomer, probably 70 years old. Good guy, though. He's Christian, but he thinks Israel are God's chosen people because, of course, because everybody born between 1920 to 1980 just assumes that Jewish people have never done anything wrong in human history and are incapable of doing things wrong in the present. And so he sees my hat, and he's like, is that what I think it means? Is that like, America's like upside down right now? Yeah, you could say that. Upside down's one way to put it. Occupied by alien vampires, the tranny tribe, the synagogue of Satan, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, that's who's running the country. And inverted is a good way to put it, because that is the inversion of a country being ruled by Christians who love God, who love Jesus Christ. These people hate Jesus Christ and thus hate God. There's a whole second layer that is beyond spiritual, that is an actual ethnic war, and that is the history of the Jewish people. They're being cast out of over 100 different countries, never their fault. In the same way, if you went to a bar in your city and you got kicked out, you would say, screw those people, they just had a problem with me. And then you go to a bar down the street and they kick you out, and you say, oh, I'm just having a bad night. It's nothing to do with me. Whatever's going on in society is just unacceptable. It's not my problem. And then you go to a third bar and a fourth bar and a 10th bar and a 50th bar and a 100th bar, and you get kicked out of 109 fucking bars in different places, entirely different cultures, speaking different languages, believing different things. And according to you, every single one of those bars were the people at fault. It was never you. And that's just the different 100 locations. Guess what the icing on the cake is? This has happened in those locations more than 10 times apiece. on more than 1,000 different occasions. You have 100 different countries on over 1,000 different occasions. If you just read human history, all of the information is there. You have 11 different popes of the Roman Catholic Church, all of them saying, we reject the Jewish people because they rejected the Messiah. They rejected their own prophet. They killed their own prophet. They killed all of the prophets, almost all of them. They have a history of doing this. They do this over and over and over. Why did they kill Jesus Christ? Was he a criminal? Did he steal something? Did he rape somebody? I don't know. Did he smash a bottle over somebody's head? Was he violent? No. The reason Jesus Christ died, just like the reason every other prophet they killed died, was because he said things that the Pharisees, the elders of the Jewish religion, disagreed with. Specifically, Jesus Christ called out their practices of worshiping their own little man-made religion that was absolutely not God's teachings, not what God handed directly to Moses. These other batch of rabbis had their own interpretations of how humanity should work, and they started forming their own religion, the religion of the rabbis, the oral teachings that they passed down from generation to generation. And so Jesus said, hey, this is actually not what God wanted you to do. This is not how God wants you to treat each other. It's not how he wants you guys to behave. And guess what? Starting today, starting with my life, me coming down here to talk to you personally as God himself, going forward, everybody has a relationship with me. Everybody falls under the covenant of forgiveness and salvation through me. That's the book of John, chapter 14, verse 6. I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. Nobody comes to the Father except through me. Those are all singular. I am the way. There are no other ways. I am the truth. There are no other truths. And I am the life. There is no life without him. Nobody comes to the Father except through me. That's not an ambiguous statement. That is the most exclusionary statement Jesus Christ could have possibly made. He didn't say one of the ways to God is through me. He didn't say a way to God is through me. He said there are no other ways except through me, meaning acknowledging that Jesus Christ is God, and that's it. There are no other options. So, man, frustrating stuff to find out that such a minor infraction, that you forwarded a meme that is factually true, but because somebody photoshopped New York Post's title on top of it, sorry, you can't go and spread the gospel to 1 million people. 1 million people can now no longer hear this message that I'm spreading. And what is the message I'm spreading? These people have a religion that has not only rejected God and said it's not true, they actively punish people for saying that Jesus Christ is God. Christ is king. Why did Candace Owens get fired? What did she say? Christ is king. All you Muslims out there, I love you. I appreciate you guys following me. But people are not getting fired for saying, go check the Quran to know how to know God. People are not getting fired. People are not getting silenced, getting murdered because they're saying Allah. Read Muhammad's writings. Nobody is being ostracized, punished, persecuted, murdered, crucified for that. So when you try to think of Satan's modus operandi, what would be his motivation? Who is he going to go after? The people who are over the target, the people who are bringing people as close as possible to the one and only true God. People go to Muhammad, they don't care. People go to whatever cow god the freaking Hindus are worshiping, or the other thousands of gods they have. Nobody cares if they go and worship Ra, the sun god. No one gives a fuck about any of that. You don't get canceled for that. You don't lose your multi-million-dollar contracts for that. You don't lose your career, even on a personal, like individual average citizen level, for pushing people toward the Islamic faith, because the Jews don't give a shit about that, because they know it's not the real faith. They know that's not what ties a society together that is oppositional to their faith. The only life, culture, way of life that is directly oppositional to Jewish people's desires, which are to bring about the Antichrist, need I remind you, what is the entire religion of current rabbinical Talmudic Judaism's end game? What are they trying to accomplish? They don't think the Messiah ever came. They think that this second person, who is obviously not God, because he's obviously not Jesus Christ, whoever they anoint as the new Messiah, what does the New Testament say about that? What does the book of Revelation say about this person who's going to be anointed the new Messiah? They call that the Antichrist. So that's the purpose of the current Jewish religion, is to find and elevate the Antichrist, to create a circumstance in which the Antichrist will be welcomed and promoted and praised. If you're familiar with the Albert Pike letters, it goes over this pretty thoroughly. The concept of the 3 world wars, putting Muslims and Christians against each other, and all this other stuff. Do Jews see us white Christians as their biggest enemy? Unquestionably, my friend. Oh boy. That's some sweet tea right there. That's some sugar-free sweet tea. Absolutely delicious. If you're living in the South, and there is no superior option to sweet tea in the South on a hot day. Go get you some Milo sugar-free sweet tea. So, 2 developments have come across the news headlines. Outside of all of my drama, outside of them trying to destroy my life's work, and I've been trying to get you guys to see this platform as a museum or a treasure trove of receipts, a treasure trove of evidence, a library, whatever you want to call it. There's like 1,500 posts on this account. Almost all of them have to do with the Jewish subversion and influence in the West, and the tie of that initiative to white genocide, because of the question the follower just asked in chat. White Christians being the #1 oppositional force in the entire world against the Jewish agenda, they're directly related. And it does take some attention, some keen attention, and some time researching to finally make those connections. It's not something you see just off the bat. But once you dig into this subject, if you want to watch the 13-hour-long documentary, Europa, The Last Battle, it takes 13 hours, but it will make all those connections for you about how white genocide and the destruction of all of Edom, or Esau, which is Europe. It's the outgrowth of the Holy Roman Empire. How that has to be destroyed. I posted a rabbi yesterday saying America must be destroyed in order for their Messiah to come. How is that not incitement to violence? How is that not hate speech against Americans? It's fucking bright out here. I can barely see. I gotta put that back on. It's too hot to be wearing a hat, but at the same time, the sun was right in my eyes. This is why what I was saying was, my account, the work that I've done over multiple years now, it has all of the receipts for you. Every one of these rabbis who talk about their Jewish supremacy and how the soul of a goyim, meaning every person who is not Jewish, is worth like 1/1,000,000th, if even that, of a Jewish person. In fact, it's not even a human soul, according to the Talmud. It's a subspecies of human being in human skin, who were only created for the sole purpose of serving them. We'll mine the fields, and we'll take care of feeding them, and we'll build their buildings and all that stuff. But in the Jewish prophecy, all of the goyim will not have rights. You don't get to choose what profession you work in. You don't get to choose if you have children or not. You don't get to choose what you say. You don't get to choose which religion you participate in. You don't get to choose to own a home. You don't get to choose to travel. All of that goes away. What do you think communism is, people? Why do you think it was Jewish people who invented communism? The seizure of all of the means of production, where they get to sit at the top, they sit at the 1%, and they say, okay, now that we have control of all the resources, we get to call all of the shots. Now, the subversion of America's civil institutions, especially the media, people think that's where it starts. People think, man, if we could just fix the media, then that's how we get ourselves out of this. Here's the problem. Equally important is the education institution, where people are getting brainwashed into thinking that God isn't real, the differences between the religions aren't real, the differences between the races aren't real, the differences between the genders aren't real. All of that Talmudic, awful Jewish cultural ideology and religious ideology, that's being indoctrinated at a intentional level through the education system. Every tier of it. Kindergarten all the way through getting your PhD. Okay, so that's just as important as fixing as the media. Then you look at our government, and you look at AIPAC, and the fact that the entire fucking government, 98% of the candidates AIPAC endorse, who is the American and Israeli Political Action, whatever, it's their foreign bribery organization, where these people representing a foreign government say, hey, Mr. Politician, I heard you want to run for district attorney. I heard you want to run for governor. You're running for president. You're running for some position in Congress. Sure would be easier to get your message out to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, if, I don't know, you had $50,000 extra dollars to advertise, maybe 100,000. In the case of Donald Trump, what if Sheldon Adelson, who is a single issue voting billionaire of the Adelson family, who was previously already given $100 million to our political candidates, has now told Donald Trump for the 2024 election that so long as he is willing to support Israel annexing the West Bank and many other priorities of the Jewish people, he can have $100 million. And there you go. All of his legal problems go away. He can afford lawyers. He can afford airtime. It's the money. If you've watched Europa, the very first scene, the very first words of the very first scene, the first seconds of the 13-hour documentary, they ask a gentleman named Ken O'Keefe, who is a retired military veteran, an American, who knows all of this, who went and served overseas and saw how rotten our military-industrial complex is, and the fact that it really only exists to advance Israel's agenda and to line the pockets of the 1% back home. He discovered everything I'm talking about, and he says, in this very first 30 seconds of Europa, he says, the head of the snake is the money. Do you know who else says this? On the opposite side, Ken is calling out the Jews, calling them out for saying, or for having captured the money. And he's saying, until you fix the money of a country, you're not going to fix anything. Because if you control the money in a country, guess what? You control the media. You buy the airtime. What do you do with that airtime? You buy the politicians. So you get to pass the laws. You get to make the foreign policy decisions. What else do you do with the money if you have the majority of it? You, what's the tie with... This is a lot to go over, you guys, and I'm going with no notes. But if you have the money, you also get to donate, like the Jewish billionaire Bill Ackman, $50 million to Harvard. And what does $50 million to Harvard buy you? Oh, I don't know. You get to fire the president of Harvard. And what do you do after you fire the president of Harvard? You replace them with who other than the former head of like the International Jewish Council. So when you have control of a nation's money supply, You can buy the media, you buy the politicians, you buy the education system, and that's it. Because you bought the politicians, you run the government, you own the media, you get to decide what's socially acceptable to say, what ideas are promoted, you control the education system, you're indoctrinating people from the point that they're born. So the head of the snake truly is the money. And when you connect all the dots, you'll find out, just trying to look at human history around the world, okay, some other people came to this conclusion. Some very powerful people came to this conclusion. What happened to them? I don't know. What happened to Gaddafi when he said, I don't want to participate in the international Rothschild syndicate cartel banking system because I don't want you to control the money of my country? What happened? Israel and the United States killed him. What happened to Saddam Hussein for coming to the exact same conclusion? Israel and the United States killed him. What happened to Adolf Hitler when he realized, hey, these Jews have captured the money supply, they've captured the media, they're pushing pornography, they're destroying the identity of the nation, they're pushing multiculturalism. What happened to Adolf Hitler? What happened to the entire country of Germany? It's currently illegal to criticize Jews there. Okay, so this pattern is undeniable. It's not an opinion. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's objective truth. You just look at the receipts. And these are the receipts that I have on my account. And now you understand why I am not allowed to have new followers. Because people like me are too educated, too articulate, and too over the target. Once you know the truth, you become the target. You're on the target, you've diagnosed what's happening, you're trying to warn other people, you become the target. So, very, very frustrating string of days here, and now I'm in a position where I got to evaluate what the best usage of my time is. Because I can't get new followers organically. They're not going to I have been removed from the algorithm. So my 21.8 follower count right now, the only way that's going to grow is if you guys share this content. You guys have to put it in your stories, remix it, send it in DMs to your friends, your family, whoever is open-minded enough to actually just sit and listen to somebody who knows and has all the receipts. That's the only way the following is going to grow for the next foreseeable future. Because guess what? Another part of all this fun, by the way, I saw somebody mention Rumble. I am on Rumble. Look for the links on beholden-to-truth.com. That's my website. That is the fallout shelter. Beholden-to-truth.com has links to my Rumble, links to my Telegram, links to the backup Instagram account, which is at Beholden-to-Truth official. Telegram is t.me/Beholden-to-Truth official. I can't remember what the Rumble is off the top of my head. I think it's just /Beholden-to-Truth. And so, the point I was making was, what is the best usage of my time now? Currently, my Rumble account has, I think, 400 followers. 400. Okay, I'm grateful, okay? Not long ago, it had like 20. I remember the days when I didn't even have the 5 followers required to do a live stream. Like, you can't go live without 5 followers. My friend Jack, who has been a longtime supporter, he remembers this. I mean, I was like, hey, man, I need to get a couple followers on Rumble just so I can start streaming. So I remember the days of having single digit, basically 0 followers. So having 400, that's great. I'm happy about it. My YouTube account is somewhere around the same. It's maybe 400 or 500. But the problem is, both of those platforms, they're not meant for sharing receipts in a quick, easy fashion. Remixing them, reposting them, putting them in your stories, all that stuff. Not to mention YouTube is owned by Jews. And they're even more censorious than Instagram is. Meta, who owns Facebook also, and Instagram. And of course, Google owns YouTube. So whenever you go and try to search for a lot of these things, just a quick red pill, you need to be using Yandex. You do not need to be using Google. Yandex or some other non-Jewish owned search engine if you want to know the truth about these matters. The other day I was trying to find some information on Mark Twain. Did you know Mark Twain, the famous author, had some things to say? In fact, he wrote an entire piece called Concerning the Jews, and you should read it because it's very, very insightful. He says it's actually not so much like a spiritual anti-Semitism. It's not something that is like we just really, really dislike you because of your religion. No. The reason 109 countries over 1,000 different times have come to this conclusion that you Jews have to go live somewhere else, it's not because they hate your religion. It's because they hate your behavior. They hate your promotion of licentiousness. They hate your usage of usury to capture nations. They hate your forcing of multiculturalism upon people who don't want it. People who just want to live amongst their own brothers and sisters. That's why people get sick of the Jewish population wherever they end up. And they will not change. They have a bitter refusal to change. They will not assimilate. Very rarely, you'll have some of them convert to, hopefully, Christianity, which this is a big red pill for a lot of people about me. A lot of guys don't know that I am half Jewish. My mother was Jewish. So this isn't like, as I said, an irrational, I'm just sitting around reading articles online and, oh, yeah, for some reason, I just really don't like this group of people. I have family members who fall into this category of people who I am criticizing. Uncoincidentally, those same people have written me off and they think I'm a hateful, evil, anti-Semitic, racist, bigot, misogynist, white supremacist, neo-Nazi. Coincidence or not, right? You guys get that that's sarcasm, but I say that because I am willing to give up everything. I'm willing to give up my family, people who have known me for decades, people I love, who are welcome to break bread with me at my house any day of the week. I would love to have discussions with them. They have fully disassociated. They want nothing to do with me. Their own words, not my words. I don't want anything to do with you. So I've already paid the price for talking about these subjects at the familial level, at the human heart, the painful level. All the friends are gone. There is no friend network. All my friends are on the internet at this point. And then there is the professional, economic risk, reputational risk that comes with doing this work with your actual face on it, not doing this all with an anonymous meme as your avatar, a Pepe meme. And you know I love my groypers. I need you guys. I love you guys. I'm not attacking you, but I'm saying you're the people who would understand this the most. You're the people who understand that when you come out and you speak about these issues as a real human, not an anonymous account, you're asking for it. You're asking for it. Ask Kanye, ask Candace, ask Lucas Gage, who had to change his fucking name because these people are evil. They are the most intolerant, non-appreciative of free speech, human rights people that exist. There are no other people who say, I am just unwilling to allow you to participate in society, to make a living, to get your message out there. There's nobody else doing that. Are Christians doing that? Are black people doing that? Are Muslims, Arabs? Are the Chinese Buddhists? Are the Indian Hindus doing that right now? No, there is no carve out for any other ethnic or religious group of people that says your life is over when you criticize us. And if anything, this only illustrates that that's only possible if you control the institutions. You can't cause somebody economic harm unless you control the economy. You can't bring about reputational harm to somebody unless you control the voice box. If you're the one speaking and putting thought out and deciding who is allowed to use that voice box, then you're the one that gets to decide whose reputation goes on untouched and whose reputation gets destroyed. Who can defend themselves whenever they are labeled anti-Semitic neo-Nazis, violent, oppressive, domestic terrorists. You don't even get to defend yourself after you get banned. You know, Nick Fuentes talked about this in his interview with the Hodge twins. Because they asked him, point blank, you're sitting here in a room with two black guys. Okay, we've been told you're a white supremacist. So what's the deal, Nick? Are you really a white supremacist? And he says, I'm glad you asked, for one. Thank you for actually having this conversation with me. And let me explain what the situation. The situation is that I have been labeled those words, and I have been banned from every single social media outlet that exists for, in some cases, 5 years, up to 7 years. I have been denied jobs in mainstream conservatism by Daily Wire, by Turning Point USA. I've been banned off of Twitter, back when it was still Twitter. And for the first year of it being X, he was banned. He was only brought back 3 weeks ago. He's banned from YouTube, banned from Facebook, Instagram, all of them. And he says, people put this label on me, and then because I'm banned everywhere, I can't even explain my ideology. I can't even offer a rebuttal. And so that's what they do, because they control the speaker. They control the megaphone. In terms of the white supremacy argument that Jewish people like to make when we talk about the importance of keeping America a white European country, majority white European country, do I want to do white identity right now? That's a whole side subject. Like, it really is. Like, there's Jewish supremacy and all the ties to our civil institutions. And then there are the way that they label every white, especially white Christian, who stands up to stop this from happening as a white supremacist. They say, oh, what? You like being around people who are like you? I guess that means you hate everybody else. Like, seriously, that is their distilled message. If you're a white person, and by the way, this doesn't apply to any other races. This doesn't apply to Arabs. It doesn't apply to Indians. It doesn't apply to Africans. If you're one of those groups and you say, I kind of like surrounding myself by other Indian people. They share the same cultural practices. They share the same language. They like the same architecture. They share the same holidays. We look like each other. When it comes to who I want to reproduce with, I kind of want to reproduce with somebody who looks like me, because I want my children to look like me, and I want my children to look like my father, who looks like his grandfather. That's all fine if you're Indian. That's all fine if you're Jewish. That's all fine if you're black or Asian or Mexican. You can say all those things. I want a Mexican wife because I am a Mexican man. Of course I want a Jewish wife because I'm a Jewish man. I want to have little Jewish children. I want to have my neighborhood and my community be primarily Jewish. That's all great. Let's celebrate. Of course you do. You're Jewish. Of course you would want that. Uh-oh, here comes the white guy. White guy says he wants his neighborhood to be majority white. That's KKK right there. That right there is the next Adolf Hitler. That right there is what's going to get 6 million Jews killed. Do you see it? Like, how can you not see it? How can you not see it, people? The double standard that is only applied. I don't give a fuck about all these other races and their criticisms of white people, their criticisms of America. If they're honest, if they are being genuinely sincere in looking at the situation, there is absolutely no way they can deny that there is a double standard that is only applied to white people. I mean, seriously, like, there's no other way to be a truthful human being than confess that. White people, the phrase white pride gets you put onto the Department of Homeland Security's FBI, CIA watch list. All three of them come after you. The Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Department comes after you if you say something about white pride, being proud of your white heritage, wanting white communities. That's just undeniably true. And anybody who says otherwise, you need to mark them as a dishonest human being, because they're just refusing to acknowledge the facts on the ground. This is simple stuff. You don't have to agree that white culture is a better culture than anybody else's. I'm not even saying that. I'm saying it's my personal preference. You can debate which culture is the best. Who cares? I don't care. My personal opinion is that white European cultures, those are the ones I would want to live in. And I'm going to drop another big red pill on you guys, and this one's going to be difficult to swallow if you're not white. But guess who agrees with me? The whole world. The whole fucking world. How do I know this? Global immigration patterns. How do people immigrate? With an E, not immigrate with an I. How do people immigrate with an E? Where do people go? When you look at the entire world, people leave one place, they go to live in another place. On the global summary level, which one is happening? Are people leaving white European countries and going to live in Cuba and going to live in fucking Egypt and Pakistan and China? Is that what's happening? Or does the whole world overwhelmingly, consistently, for decades, centuries, choose to go live in white European dominated countries, founded by whites, built by whites, sustained by whites, white blood spilled to protect? That's just factually true. People do not immigrate from European countries and go live in these other places. They do the opposite. So that's the conversation about which culture is superior. If you want to have that, we can have that conversation. But I'm not even putting forth an argument that says that white culture is best. I'm putting forth an argument that says it's my personal preference. Why? Because all of the reasons I mentioned before. I want to have a white family. I want to have a majority white neighborhood and city and county and state and nation. Why? Because white European cultures have a different governmental model than the others. They have a different faith model than the others. They have a different economic model than the others. They look and function and feel different. You can say if that difference is better or worse, it doesn't matter. The personal preference is allowed. It's a human right. If an Indian person said, I prefer Indian Hindu culture, I could not say, well, you're a bad person for not liking European Christian culture as much as your own culture. So I'm not a bad person. I am in no way contradicting what the Bible says. People try to use that argument against me. Aren't you a Christian? You can't criticize these other cultures. You're supposed to welcome neighbors of all sorts around you. It's a religion for everybody. How dare you say that America should be a majority white country? You're contradicting or undermining the gospel. These people have no idea what they're talking about because, as I just explained for like 10, 20 fucking minutes, if you applied the same criticism to a Nigerian person, a black Nigerian person who said, hey, I think Nigeria should stay Nigerian, or a Jewish person living in Israel saying, I think Israel should remain majority Jewish because that's the culture that I like, and it's a country built by Jews for Jews, and so it should therefore stay majority Jewish, and the Jewish people should run the country. Yeah, that all kind of makes sense. It's not racist. It's not xenophobic. It's not supremacist. It's certainly not evil. But it is all of those things when it's a white person. It is all of those things when it's a white nation. It is evil. It is white supremacy. It is an incitement to violence against all these other people. So I said I don't know if I'm going to go down the white identity thing, but I just did it. There you go. You know everything you ever need to know. This argument is so simple. People want to obfuscate and what about slavery? What about colonialism? I can answer those questions too if you'd like me to, but I already laid out the objective case that the different people of the different nations are all equally owed a right to protect their nations. This is why I don't even know how many popes of the Roman Catholic Church have already made rulings about this, about is it moral or not to protect the ethnic identity of a country. This was a very popular topic in World War II. This has already been settled, and it's clearly already settled for all ethnic nations that are not white. It's already settled that it's totally okay for them. What we're having some disagreement about is whether or not it's okay for white people to have their own nations. I will quickly red pill you on colonialism and slavery just because I brought it up. And I know people want to try to say that that's like the reason why white people somehow are currently in a position of owing black people, of owing Native American people, the Mexica. You colonize this land, and so therefore you owe us. You're living on stolen land. Or the black people say, we didn't want to come here. You forced us to come here. You oppressed us for 150, 200 years, and so therefore you owe us reparations. It saddens me that I even have to explain this, but here we go, okay? Take any other empire in human history that has risen and fallen. Did they participate in colonialism, which is another word for imperialism? When you try to expand the borders of your people's territory, you try to annex other lands around you, you use violence to do so, you try to replace the religion and the practices of that land with your own, that's imperialism, or you can call it colonization. Hey, question, pop quiz. Anybody who's ever taken a single history class in their life, probably not in the Western education system, but if you even care at all about the truth, how did the Ottoman Empire spread? Class, can anybody answer this question? How did the Ottoman Empire spread from the Middle East all the way to fucking Spain? Was that a peaceful missionary trip like they're Jehovah's Witnesses? Or did that have something to do with the years around 1100 and something called the Crusades, where the white Christian European nations had to sacrifice millions of lives to stop the imperialistic endeavors, the violent, religiously motivated endeavors of the Arab Muslim people? Have you heard of the Barbary pirates? Have you ever heard of the Arab slave trade? Do you know who owned all of the slave ships? I just explained to you how colonialism and imperialism is not unique to white people. White people have nothing unique to apologize for in that regard. We're not asking for reparations from the Arab states, and they got a lot of money. Did you know that? Did you know that there are billionaires, many, many, many of them, living in the Middle East who we could be seeking reparations to? Nobody's asking them. Nobody's saying the Arab race is inherently more violent and all this other stuff than others. No, but white people, when they go and do imperialism, oh yeah, they're satanic, they're evil, they're awful. And when the white people engaged in the practice of human slavery, that marked them for the end of time as being uniquely evil, awful people who treated human beings like farm animals. That's what people are taught in school. And that's why the white race is currently hated everywhere. And that's why our children are retarded and tearing down our own statues and saying awful things about their own race. This is also why we have a negative birth rate. Self-hatred. They have been taught to suicide their own race of people. It is encouraged ethnocide. And so the practices of colonialism and slavery are not unique whatsoever to white people. And so we have nothing to apologize for, nothing to repay other people for. And so that's it. There are no other arguments on the whole white identity subject. White people don't owe anybody anything. And it's completely morally unimpeachable for us to say that we're owed our own nations and the ability to protect them and run them ourselves the same way every other ethnic nation runs itself. So where is your ammunition? Why is white pride so socially taboo? Why is white pride not just socially taboo? Why is it illegal from the federal government? Why is your reputation destroyed for being proud of your own race only when you're white? So like I said, there are no other counter arguments. Everything I put on this channel factually checks out. And this is the thing. People who don't have the articulation that I do, who haven't put in thousands of hours of research, they can't keep up. And so they just hear the first 30 seconds of me talking about Jewish influence, and they're like, whoa, this guy's an anti-Semitic Nazi. And then they just turn it off. And they don't listen to the next 50 minutes of me laying out the 100% rational, 100% historically, factually verified, empirically true influence of Jewish people in America over the last 100 years, repeated over many times throughout human history in over 100 countries. Nope, you're just Hitler. That's their comeback. You're Hitler. Oh, okay. Didn't realize that. Didn't know I spoke German. Didn't know I was running Germany in 1933 through 1945 or whatever the fuck it was. Didn't know I'm building gas chambers in my house. Didn't know I was building a masturbation death machine. Didn't know I had lampshades of human Jewish skin in my house. Didn't know I had bars of soap made out of dead Jewish people in my house. Didn't know I have cages with bears and eagles in them where I throw Jews into them to execute them. That's a little bit of sarcasm. I don't know if you guys are red-pilled on that. You know, it's been a good talk, you guys. It really has. Thank you for letting me vent. I was trying to think, like, you know, do I really want to do a stream today? I don't know what I might say. Loose cannon, you know. These guys have been really fucking with me for the last 4 hours. 4 days. And they fucked me over. Like, that's the truth. As I said before, I can't even get the gospel out to the previously 1 million people per month I was reaching. That's what's really bothering me. That is just unacceptable. And the only reason it's allowed is because Jewish people run this social media platform. Like, right? That's the only reason this is happening. Do you think if this platform was owned by a Christian person, especially a white Christian person, that they would say, ooh, yeah, the stuff you're saying about the synagogue of Satan and the stuff you're saying about the Jews being evicted from all these countries, you know, all that stuff, it actually checks out. It checks out in the Bible. It checks out on the historical record. But you're making Jewish people uncomfortable, okay? You're making Jewish people uncomfortable. So therefore, I know you were getting the gospel out to 1 million people per month, but we got to close your account. We can't let you get any more followers. That message is just too dangerous. That message of, hey, can we please just actually read the text of what Jewish people believe according to their religion? Can we please just look at the historical text, the pattern of behavior of these people, their failure to assimilate, their ethnocentrism, their nationalistic pride above the host nation that they're living in? Can we please just like talk about any of those things? No, can't do that. That's too dangerous. You posted a meme that was factually true that said talking about the Jews in a critical fashion has become illegal in parts of America. You posted a meme that said that, but you said the source of that information was the New York Post, and it wasn't, actually. The New York Post never put out an article that said that. So you can't preach the gospel anymore. You can't reach people with the truth about the Jews. It's over. That is such an absurd abuse of power. These people need to be hung for treason. When you say you cannot diagnose and speak openly, practice your First Amendment protected right of criticizing the people hurting America, hurting Americans, destroying its identity, driving us into trillions of dollars of insolvent debt that we can't even repay, separating us from our sovereign control of our economy, our military, our civil institutions, our education system. How many times can I say it? Like, I'm done, guys. I'm done. Thank you for listening. That was 59 minutes. It's giving me a 1-minute warning right now. What else can I leave you guys with? I'll save this live stream so it's on my channel. And I do want to watch Thomas Massey and Tucker Carlson's conversation. I plan on doing that, and I might even do it live and react to parts of it live. I would have to do that on Rumble probably. So for the time being, everybody follow my backups, share the stuff. I'll continue sharing on this account, but it's up to you. You guys are my voice now. I can't get new followers on this account. You have to bring them to this account. So I love you all. I'm certainly not suicidal. I love my life despite these people giving me a hard time. So until next time, take care.